I'm gonna get to it. All right, all right, party people in the place to be. We're back for another edition. Heyward CPA live and direct. Saying got my man up in here. He about to come in a few minutes. Yo, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. Can you hear me?
Yeah. I didn't know because I was in there like check 1 2 1 2. Hey, you wasn't saying nothing. I was like, yo, this guy hear me or what?
No, so I couldn't hear that, but I can hear you now.
Okay, cool. We're good. Good. I really hope so.
I'm trying to figure out. You can hear me fine. You don't hear any reverb, right?
No, no, you fine.
You all good. And I got the mic.
Oh, you got the mic going. Okay. So yeah, that's why you sound crispy, lispy, and all that stuff. So we back in the building once again. Heyward CPA live, new year, new you, and it's time to get to work. That's what I call today's episode. Time to get to work, or we back. I don't know, man. So anyway, so how you been?
Yeah, man, I'm good, man. Got up this morning early. Went for my run. Had to take the opportunity for the weather. Sweep up the yard a little bit. Right? Yeah,
it's warm outside, right? Yeah,
man, it's warm. It's too warm, I think, because I saw some folks out in short sleeves and pants and t-shirts already. I'm like, it's only a couple of days.
Yeah, Pneumonia City, D. Pneumonia City.
Absolutely. So, but beautiful day, man. Got up and seized the opportunity. Clear my head, clear my mind, think about, some past week events, but make sure we're looking forward, right?
Without a doubt, so once again, I guess we're here. If you're new to the show, you like that, or to the channel, what we try to do on this live stream is answer questions submitted by viewers and answers that come up through our trials for the previous 2 weeks. We have about a month's worth of backlog now. And as always, feel free to put any questions in the chat if you're watching us live. If not, put it in the comments. You can email us at live@heywardcpa.com. We probably, we're gonna do something with that. I'm gonna do something to make it easier to submit questions. So I just keep that in mind. So we'll do that. So where do we start?
I don't know. It's a new year. Let's say this. January's gone, right?
Yeah.
February is tracking real quick. We're already in double digits.
Yeah. In February, so it's the 12th.
Yeah.
So, happy Valentine's to everybody out there. If you want it like that, you still got 2 days to get on it like that. So use your time wisely, for sure. But other than that, February's here. I mean, I got something. I always got something.
I know you do.
I always got something. Like
always.
Yeah. So I'm gonna look dead in. So I'm gonna look at the camera. Be real serious about this. But a couple of conversations come up in my in my advisory role with some people. And one thing I do want to talk about is we're going to reverse it. I'm going to ask you the question here. So how can a business owner, or how can a business owner connect an employee's performance to their paycheck? So without opening the books. So what I mean, in short, when you have a smaller business, heck, even a mid-size, whatever size business, but we talking to people small, you in it day to day. Do employees connect the fact that your sales performance is how they get paid? I wonder that. You know what I'm saying? Like, because whenever someone has a job, no one ever says, gee, like, let's take the government. The people, do you work for the government? And then you say, well, and I'm simplifying it, then you say, well, yo, taxes need to go down, but I need a raise. But you work for the government. So what's the rub? So if you work for a big company, you never, and because large companies publicly traded, they routinely have losses, but they have cash, because there's, we're not going to get into that, but and then it's nothing nefarious. It's just, that's how that works. But when you at the corner, the day-to-day shop, the restaurant, the retailer, where you are, especially when you early, when you're starting out, I mean, how do you make that connection? And because I think it's a challenge for business owners. If you're lucky enough, you have employees mature enough to do that. But I know a couple of businesses that I'm closely advising to that is disconnected. And so it's for them, people, I have this saying, I mean, am I paying you for attendance, for participation? You getting like, what they give you the soccer, they give you a medal, everybody that came up. So you coming to work, so I'm supposed to pay you just because you showed up for attendance, or am I paying you for participation? I think that's an interesting subject to start the year with. But yeah.
So there's a method to the madness there, without giving too much of the ingredients away. There's an alignment that needs to be understood. So the alignment is the employee is still an individual. So we got to understand what are their goals, their aspirations, what do they want. So that needs to be identified first, right? If you fill in a hole, then you fill in a hole. That's a whole nother story. But if the culture, the vision, and the mission of the company is to excel and to get to certain milestones, then we got to have certain checkpoints. And then those checkpoints should not be micromanaged. So how do we get away from micromanagement? Again, let me go back to understanding that individual's goals. What do they want? Right? What are their skill sets? What are they currently learning? Right? What do they need to learn to improve themselves? So that's always all talk. That's always conversation. It's always in a performance review written down here. I mean, you're gonna have a review and you just read it and sign it, right?
Yeah.
So
nobody ever does.
Yeah. But that's not encouraging. For me, it's never been when I was in corporate. Never.
Yeah. Well, so that's one reason I no longer am. So.
Right. So there is a way to do that, and there are mechanisms that you could put in place that can guide the employee along with the employer and the business. Now, remember, the employer and the business are two separate things, but the business heartbeat is created by the employer continuously leading and making sure the health of the business is intact. And so part of the health of the business being intact always comes down to the people, because we lead people and we manage systems. So the mechanisms that you put in place for the employee will not only encourage them and allow them to be independent thinkers, but it'll allow them to grow not only with the organization, but more importantly for themselves. Because if the employee is not growing for themselves, they're not going to apply it to the organization, and then they're not going to make the clients experience great customer satisfaction, right? So I've gone through it, and I still continuously use those same tools for myself. That's why I'm able to keep trudging forward, right? And so I have three mechanisms that I use daily that allows me to do that. And then it allows me to put other, so we got some clients, biz therapy clients we're working with. So even with that,
biz therapy sighting early in the broadcast.
They got to walk the mechanism only to show their progression. These are their progression points. But it also leaves room to go back and say, all right, I wasn't there for this at the time. Now I am. It's noted. right? And I'm being vague, obviously, but as long as you got these mechanisms in place, you're constantly on a weekly basis checking your performance, measuring your K. Now, here's the other piece. Every individual has to have a KPI. And those KPIs are tied to the mechanisms, are tied to those mechanisms that's going to drive them forward. And it's just a simple daily measurement, weekly measurement, monthly measurement. You know, a lot of reviews are done, you know, semi-annual or annual or not, or when you get written up or you messing up because you didn't skip the process.
Yeah.
Granted, but not everyone has that thing that makes them a entrepreneur, a CEO, a manager, a leader. It's in there, it's in everybody. I'm not discounting it, but not everybody has that thing, meaning they're not tapped in. They don't even know where to look for it. Or it's inside of them. Let me go do my job, punch in, punch out, and then I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So that's what with the KPIs was where I was trying to, I mean, I got you there. And you talked about my next point, because in some businesses, retail, restaurant, you're not going to get a high percentage. It's high turnover. Those are high turnover. And amazingly, in healthcare, like front end staff and stuff like that, there's a lot of high turnover companies. Mm-hmm. So, I'm coming from like, if you have to be that leader, how do you motivate these people that aren't self-motivated? They motivated to come to work because they come and get the check. But they're not that next level. Now, ideally, of course, you would work to build your staff or team. It's probably better to really build a team that they can flow in the same direction. They understand the mission. They understand the vision. They understand what we're trying to do. More of, they understand that if we don't eat, nobody eats. That's the thing. So when you have these things and you have people that are silo themselves, say you got under 10 employees, all right? Mm-hmm. It's almost impossible for you to silo yourself and say, well, I only do so-and-so. Because it's like, what you mean? It's like, so I always use this example from my old office. It'd be 3 of us in the office. So one person answers the phone primarily. It wasn't me. But then if that person went to the bathroom and the phone rang and me and the other person just looked at each other and said, well, that's not my job. What, so really? Like that, that's what happens. So but that's what I was getting. And KPIs, definitely. The KPIs definitely, so that you can take performance. You can translate the finance to performance. Mm-hmm. So one of the ways that I've looked at doing it with one of my good friends is, we got to get to it too. It's like number of transactions a day, time to complete a transaction, things like that. Mm-hmm. That on the surface aren't financial measures, but they're the activity that leads to the financial measures.
Yeah, correct.
And that's that. So if y'all notice, we going to like we going like maybe the 150 level this year. So we're going to talk about the numbers, but every transaction has a story behind it. And so now if you think about things like that, then you can say, how do I take this story and break it down into chapters for my people so that they understand? Because I know that, and there's plenty of business owners out here, every other week or every week, they stressed out about the payroll. And a big problem is because they're paying for help. Like sometimes I'll be like, so you paying for your friends to hang out, pretty much. So you pay and they try, and they show up every day. Yay. All right. That's wonderful. That's great.
There's a remedy for that. Again, it's just, so I use 3 mechanisms, but the first 2 is the most important piece, because it helps to identify the individual and what they're doing, what their role is, but also helps to expand what.
How they think.
Not only that, it's a chain has links. You can't be a part of a chain and you're not one of the links. So how do we get them to understand that this chain, you're a part of this chain, and if your link is weak or broken, something's bad gonna happen, right? So it's about making sure that the understanding of what the organization is, how they fit in as the link. See, a lot of people have good ideas, they have good thoughts, they have good work ethics, they want to improve themselves, but the fear of employees shunning them, not taking their ideas seriously, not putting them in a position of being able to become a decision level maker at a certain point in their progression. Not, okay, go, here's the checkbook, go run the company. That's not what we're talking about. No, but if you're doing the same, so here's an example. If you're doing the same repetitive process over and over and over again, you're going to get bored with it.
Yeah.
Correct? Yeah. You're going to get bored. You're going to lose interest. You're going to, right? So how do we continuously encourage and make sure they understand that there's always room for continuous improvement? Well, what is your process? Boom, this is what you do every day. Okay. Well, let me ask you a question. And what you do every day, is there room for improvement for that process? Figure it out and get back to me. How does that tie into? You see where I'm going with this? So, and then a lot of people don't start where they come in at, they get to. But what are the challenges and the obstacles that they have to go through? So that has to be removed by leadership. And this is where leading people is important, because a lot of people think, okay, I'm going to manage people. You can't manage people. That's why there's a lot of turnover, right? Yeah. That goes down to judging. Nobody wants to be judged. Nobody wants to be felt that they're not important. So you got to put them in a position. You got to constantly lead them and show them and observe them and shape their behavior and their opportunities. And you understand where I'm going? But if you put these mechanisms in place, you'll have something that's out of your head that you can actually measure.
Yeah. And so you gave me a great idea while you were saying and reimagining like a performance review. So, and I haven't done many. I'll be honest to all y'all out there. I haven't been involved with many. There was a small period in time where I was there subject to them. And after the last one, I said, ain't nobody else going to determine how much money I make anymore. Shut up, later. So, because it was so ridiculous. The review was like totally ridiculous. Right, and I even challenged the manager. It was one of them things where dude gave it to me. I read it and I looked at him like, really? Really? Like straight up like that. So it was, so those of you out there, I'm not the best employee. So, just so you know that. But to have a review, I think what you're saying on the baseline is like, man, so they're not just, how can we do this from what you do? How can we do this better to get to this common good that we've laid out here? So and my philosophy is more about, and as we just growing, but saying that if you're doing it every day, you know more than me. All right, that's just fact. Okay. So where my goal for anybody is to say, well, if you know more than me, the true testament is, can you teach somebody else that? You don't have to prove to me you know what you're doing, because I'm going to know. I'm looking at the wheel. If the wheel is turning, then all right, we're doing. We all strive to be better all the time. Mm-hmm. But now I know. But if you really can train somebody else, which is a gateway from you to go to another thing that might be more valuable to the process, that you can make more money. Because let's be real, that's what it's about. But I think before going, so that's kind of my philosophy with stuff. But one of the things, how do you get to that philosophy, which you laid out in the 3 steps? So you kind of have to, when interviewing, onboarding, whatever you want to call it, your folks, you have to put that in your culture. You have to really challenge, because people don't naturally think that. As I said, most employees think they check come out the ether somewhere. They don't think about it, until when they think about it. When you can't pay them, that's when it's going down.
Or they're not getting a check. Or they're not getting.
They ain't getting no check now. Oh my God, yo, what is this? I need my money. But they've been loafing on your clock for 6 months doing nothing, and you helping them, and then they're like, oh, this isn't fair. No, what isn't fair is that I take money out of my family to pay you. And you don't get, because I always say, luckily we don't have that problem here. But I always tell people, I say, yo, man, it's kind of like they telling you, I don't care if I'm paying you every week by week or whatever, and you loafing around, whatever. And you telling me you don't care about me. You don't think much about me because I'm paying you. This is coming out of my money. If your family's coming out of your family's mouth, so you don't care about me, and people, like you don't. Especially, we got a small intimate thing. I do stuff for you. We do meals and all that. You don't care about me. Mm-hmm. Let's just call it what it is. You care about the check. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, guess what? You ain't the right person. You're the weakest link. Back to your thing. Goodbye. You're out. But it just because these things.
And to add on to what you just saying, Pete, you out of here. My thing is, even if they can't fit the mold when they leave, my thing is make sure that they're leaving understanding there's an impact on what they're leaving, so they can move forward and still keep their head up and say, all right, I'm gonna do better moving forward, because that's my thing, right?
Yeah, no, that is totally your thing.
That's fine. Because you know what? Because I know what it look like, man. I know what it feels like. You know what I mean? And what? Listen, you're not able to meet the requirements to do the job, but see, it's okay, right? However, when you move on, which is fine, it's life. Don't hold your head down. You might kick yourself because you felt you could have did better, but at least now you went through a short period or whatever period. And you have mechanisms in place that where because a lot of times they say you don't know what you got until it's gone, right? And people may not take to the process internally, but if they got to get booted or they got to leave and move on, things usually kick in afterwards. So that's what my thought is. How can we impact them so that leaves something they can take it with them, right?
Yeah, and that's. See, that's why we have perspectives here.
My thing.
Only your thing. Because
unless you're just being facetious, then then that's on you. You wrote that ticket. You know what I mean?
But I know. Where I'm coming from is that I've seen the struggle. People struggle to pay folks their salary, keep them home. And what happens to the back end to the owner, and this, I'm not talking about, I tell you one time or we discussed it one time and then I'm saying like we've had this period where, wow, pretty much I've invested in you and you act like you don't care. So, what am I supposed to do? And when do you fire fast? All the time. You're supposed to fire fast all the time. Hire slow, fire fast. But what you're doing. But that's not the central point of like how you hit the ejector seat. My thing is saying more about, okay, I think this is a tough question for people because everybody in one time or another has earned some sort of paycheck or some pay, or they've earned some money. So you tend to have a tendency to think that the person you're hiring kind of has the same je ne sais quoi as you do. But they don't, because as I told you, all interviews are lies. The interviews are lies. You can train to do an interview. Yeah. So that tells you nothing about how they work. It just tells you that they can do the interview.
Yeah. So how many books you read a year, right? Yeah. What's the last book you read, right?
Yeah.
Tell me a story about that, right? You know what I mean? And tell me, when you had an idea, the common question is, well, if you have an idea, suggestion, do you bring it to your manager, right? And how do you bring it to your manager?
Yeah, and all that jazz,
right? All that. But again, there's certain prelims that you could ask, and then you can I'm telling you, I got an interview mechanism. I went through this myself several times, and I didn't like it at first. And I'm like, what? But then I was able to refine it, because then now I was in the process. I was in the position where I had to interview, train a team, and do this and do that, right? So I massaged the mechanism, but it made complete sense now. And it's an easy thing, and it's outside of those interview of the resume.
Oh, yeah. Well, listen, when I interview people, and I've done it from interns or just mock interviewing people. So I tell people I'm probably not the best person because I'm not corporate at all. I just have a conversation with them, because usually when you sit in there, I mean, this is the interview sit. You sit in your chair. This is why I didn't get any inroads, because sitting in the chair stiff. Yes, sir. Yeah. Let me look at the camera. Yes, that's how you do that. As you can see, I slouch in my chair. So they sitting like that. I come in. I'm like, yeah, man, it's all good. They give me a resume. I read that already. You sent that to me. So usually I just say, so what's your story? That's it, because we small. Like, I need to know your story, man. I don't need to know yes, and I work. We read all that, whatever, because whatever you did there is irrelevant, because I got to train you. So I don't care what you did before. All that's telling me is that you have the aptitude to learn. That's all I'm getting from it. So I said, what's your story? Sure, what's up with you? And that's that. In fact, that's not to be well. I mean, that's at the end of my dating reign. That's what I did too. My first question: what's your story? Like that? Because all that stuff that you put out there, you put that out there. Now I put you on the clock. What's your story? You gotta tell me right now. You couldn't rehearse that, so now I'm gonna see who you are. Right there. It's just like, okay, because I want to know who we're gonna be working with, not who you presenting. That's just like, you present somebody, okay. You could have practiced. You go on the internet, Heyward CPA. You could watch our live streams, do all that. You prepped up and all that. So I'm gonna throw a curve at you.
Right.
Without a doubt, I'm gonna throw a curve at you. Straight up, I'm gonna throw a curve at you. Just like just like the whole left field thing. Like I might, I've asked people, hey, do you like I've asked accounting questions on the fly. If that's the type of role, I was just asked right there. Yo, pull out the T account, pull out a piece of paper. So if we had to do this, and that's how you do that. And they're like, huh? And I'm like, okay, well, let's figure it out. Because that's what I'm working with. Don't give me this, you've been all that. It's like, how we gonna solve problems with people? But I think the whole subject of where we headed here. Where we headed here is that how we bring people in to smaller organizations and how we interview them, train them, and do all that is different. Your corporate training is different. Corporations have room for error. They got room. You can hide.
And big wallets.
Yeah, you get through that first year, you could disappear in the mist. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. You could disappear in the total mist.
Correct.
So we got a comment here. Got to make sure folks aren't professional catfishing. Exactly right. Mm-hmm. That's how you go in there. You say, so what's your story? You know, so you can't memorize your story because I'm going to see where you are. So you got to kind of like bring them on different. So the employee game, when you're small, this is really when you're small. Like you have to be like, because every dollar you spend in personnel, I mean, that's a dollar coming out your pocket. So it gets back to, where I started, like people understand, like, where does your money, like, how do you get paid? Like people come in, I mean, the great one is when people come in, they want to raise, right? They'll say, I want to raise, I want to do more. Well, you may not be doing what I need you to do already. So what are you talking about? You want to do more? Like, what do you mean you want to do more? Can I just get you to do what I need you to do now? You know, so I'm saying that's a thing that you do in corporate. Oh, I want to do more. Well, thank you, Heyward. We'll take a look and see if we can find you somewhere else. But if also in case, I'm like, dude, do more. Like, yeah, how can you do what I'm paying for right now? Now that's what leads, and I'll deal with that on the flip side with this $15 an hour movement. I will just quickly say that a lot of people want to get $15 for the work for the level of work they already doing. And what I'm promising you, that's not going to happen. So what's going to happen is the conversation's still going to be off balance. Not saying it shouldn't happen, but my point is people are thinking about it like, I should be making $15 an hour right now for what you're doing with no additional. So when they start putting them robots back there fixing them Happy Meals and stuff, there you go. What you gonna have as a line supervisor to be handling the programming. You have to have some juice with you because you got to manage the robots. It's like that.
Because them robots, they don't need a paycheck.
No, they don't need a paycheck. They just need tune up. So I can pay two people $15 an hour rather than 8 people $8 an hour.
Correct.
Because that's what I'm saying. But anyway, back to the small people like us. So, you know, it's just it's a thing to say when you small, it's so detrimental to small businesses that you really, you know, it's hard to quantify people's performances, but the investment you're making in your team, your staff, your whatever, you have to, it has to make sense. It has to make sense because, you know, payroll is the biggest driver in almost every business. Payroll is the biggest driver. Okay. And, you know, big companies, as I said, they routinely report losses anyway. Most of them publicly traded companies, big, mid-sized.
They got a line item for that.
Yeah, they got enough room to play.
Of course.
You know, and because they're big, their processes are so inefficient that we're not going to be able to find someone playing around.
Correct.
But when you small, especially under 10 or under, man, come on, man. You messed up out here, man. You gotta make sure you're not getting a body, a cold body to fill up space. Yeah. You know, you gotta make sure. I think that it has to be when you interviewing somebody or you watching their movie to understand their story. I think it's important to know they got to have a drive, a passion within themselves for excellence, and they want to get somewhere. Because I think that's the only measurement, unless you just need somebody to do something that's a no-brainer that doesn't really cost a lot of time and money. You know, maybe 5 hours a day you need them, 4 hours a day you need them just to do this, and and you know, then you get some interns at that point, right? Yeah, but you know, the functions of the company. The intern, the deal with the intern is you know, I'm giving you something for you to further your career.
Correct.
So you don't really want to, you know, waste that. But the concept is that the intern is going to be hungrier.
Correct.
So they'll step up. But I get exactly what you're saying. Like,
you know what I mean? You gotta. I didn't make my way through anything. Just you know, being an order taker. I you know, and you know, let's put that on the table. Color makes a difference in the world of jobs, right? And so you know, I've always had to. You know, I always had to challenge the leadership's role, but without them even knowing. So I go like, you know, I used to go to interviews and
I know.
I go to interview. They start firing away questions. I say, well, what drove the person that was here before me away?
That's me. That's
right.
Me.
What drove them away? Like, why you know, you're talking to me, but why did you choose me? What about my resume piqued your interest or my skills piqued your interest, right? And then, but see, that tells you they like, wait a minute, because
like, who's this guy?
And they like, well, we'll get back to you in a couple of weeks. We still got a lot more kind of peace. By the time I get to my car, they hit me up like, hey, Mr. Franklin,
you come back here for a second. Yeah.
And then you don't even ask about no dollars and cents. You wait until the offer gets, and then you talk about that.
Then you talk about, But that's
but that's somebody that is about their business.
Yeah, because I literally did the same thing. And they were coming in. Oh, I remember. I don't think I got this job, but whatever. They were like, yeah, it's this, that, boom. And I sat there and see, as I said, I didn't make it into inroads, which, I'm still kind of a little salty about that because my business mind, I mean, come on, man, but that's okay. Right?
You pay for
and
your
I remember instinctually, I said, so why the last person leave? I said it just like that. Well, no one's ever asked that before.
Yeah. And what did they leave behind?
That's why.
What did they leave behind that now you're gonna measure me on? Because I gotta clean it up. I can't even do the work.
Like if this job's that good, what the heck what they leave for? Because for me, it was always seeing whether or not they terminated the person. You could kind of tell by the way they respond, or if the person moved on,
Oh, wait. They sit back in the seat and they cross their leg and they're like, yeah. It's like, they like I used to remember back in school, you got to sit like this, take a picture.
Yeah. And to take the picture, you got to sit up. So they're like sitting there like, yes.
And I'm sitting there like,
that's
man.
Interesting question. Yeah. And I'm like, okay. But no, but so when you on the other side, that's why I don't do interviews like that. Because I said, I just tell it what's real. Like, when, in the way, our shop runs, I tell them, look, this experience is not going to be like anything you do anywhere else.
Correct.
And here you're going to gain knowledge. You're going to gain experience. You're going to work with some professionals. But I think, and that might be one of our next episodes, what is a professional? Because for some people, they have a caricature of professional. Where I come from is when you get paid to do something, you're a professional. So, but I ain't getting into that. But I tell them, hey, this is how we rock. This is how we move. It's 2022. Yeah. So I can tell somebody in an interview in a company that I have that, this is how we rock. Right. So I can use vernacular. And so I'm saying like that. All right. So, but we are world class. So I don't need the drones, man. But that lays the basis for all this we started with. That lays the basis to be able to communicate vision, mission, what we trying to do. And I know over here is difficult because it seems like it changes a lot, but it's not. It goes a winding road. It's still to the same apex, but it's there. But to be able to communicate that, and as a business owner, your life is easier. Like you shouldn't. Once you start hiring people, you should not be carrying the stress of the entire organization on your back. That's really where I'm getting at.
People got to fill their role. They got to handle that. Like you own it. You own it. It's like it's almost like you drive. You gonna be in the drive. I'm jumping in your car. You driving, but you want me to steer and manage the brakes and the gas? Nah.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. But it's stressful. And like I tell people, I say, well, you stressing yourself out to pay them, but you're not demanding anything from them. And and it doesn't have to be harsh, but come on. You want your money at the end of the pay period. I want your performance throughout the pay period. And I would really appreciate your point of view as well.
Well, I think there has to be a change in the noise that's being presented in the world, because with social media, with TV, with movies, with how people have been doing things from generation to generation, you got pockets of people that really care. They have their integrities intact. They really, they could do the right things when nobody's looking, right? But that's not a lot. And I think people have this understanding, especially with the pandemic in place, and they sending out the stimulus checks and this, that, and the third. So everybody got their hand out. They don't feel like they have to work for it or be a part of a cause or a mission or something, right? And so I think that has to be totally understood from the time you need a spot filled. And what are the requirements of the spot before you actually go out and start finding somebody to fill that spot? Because it's not no job is just a one-off. You're a cog in the wheel somewhere. and you have to operate on this level, but you're still connected all the way through
to the whole vision.
I don't care what level you want, right? You connected all the way through. So everything runs on the same accord, but that individual has to understand, hey, this is the culture of the company. This is the mission. Where you at? I could fall as the leader or the manager or the owner. I could fall sick today. You're my direct report. Yeah. What's going to happen if I fall sick? How would you run the organization? And that don't have nothing to do with a title. It has everything to do with the pride of the company that you're with, that you're representing, right? Right. Yeah. Correct.
And from where we started, because where do you think the money comes from? To pay your salary. Where does it come from? So if I get ill and everything stops, that tells me, one, that I don't need you. Because if I had to do everything and it stops, then what am I paying you for? To hang out, be my best friend, sit there, have lunches there. I mean, it is there. Now, if I didn't prepare you, that's on me. But that, and that, so that's why I said, I think it's, but it's something we definitely probably revisit again. I'm going to start, because when we get to these interviews this year, I'm going to start shooting these questions out. Like, how do you motivate your people? How do you motivate, And then, one thing is, well, we could get into the weeds of that too, but motivating, but what are the ways? I feel like you have to teach your people, you have to share, and this goes into delegation. You have to share what's going on with the business, with the people that are running it day to day. This isn't the Industrial Revolution where you
do as I say. Right.
Yo, don't look up. You do that when the horn goes. Go get your bucket. Go eat your lunch. Come back when the horn goes again. Like the spacely sprockets or wherever Fred Flintstone worked. It's not like that. We in this knowledge-based stuff. We're doing a lot of big customer service, dealing with people front facing.
Yeah.
So you got to have people that have some 360 vision that could think. If something goes wrong, how do I fix this to achieve the goal of the organization? And that's where we want to figure out how do we have people that can, it's not, and no one's alone. You know what I'm saying? It's not about, oh, well, you fix this. Hey, if you're not 100% sure, there's a place for you to go talk. Your colleagues know. You constantly understand what we're trying to do. Like if everybody understands what we're trying to do, then it helps. It makes it when something goes left. It helps when something goes left. So you're like, okay. So,
the other thing to that, and then I know we're gonna jump off here in a moment. The other piece to that is the other piece to that is, the message of growing up. When it's kind of backwards in a sense. So when you're growing up, when you mess up, you did something wrong, you're on punishment, you get a whooping. I don't know if they give out whoopings these days, but I know I used to get my butt
torn up. Not in the traditional sense.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah, CPS right? Now. Kids go to CPS.
Man, listen,
I call CPS.
Yeah, right. Okay, right. But when you young, when you mess up, it's wrong. When you get older, they say, well, if you're not messing up, you're not growing, you're not learning. So that's been indoctrinated into our bloodstream for so long, and this is for like the early employees and the ones that got a few years
starting to work.
Yeah, when you get older, you kind of go, oh man, let me, that don't really make sense. But I think that's another piece to it, especially even now in this modern world where social media has allowed people to be lazy, and feel like they're privileged to everything. They don't have to work hard for it.
Oh gosh. Yeah, we had to switch to another channel.
I bet. Yeah.
But I was just going to say, no, but there's a thing that I've been saying more, work maturity. So you can be a mature individual.
Correct.
But do you know how to go to work? Like, so I measure that is, do you know how to go to work when the scenario isn't perfect?
Correct.
And it's really showing itself now because you working from home. Working from home is the hardest thing in the world to do. You have to be so disciplined to do it. People think, and working at home as an entrepreneur is double that because there's no one's looking for you.
Correct.
So you have to motivate yourself to get up out of your bed and possibly sit 2 feet from your bed and call yourself working. It takes a lot of maturity and it takes a lot of dedication. But you know, that's what I think you have to measure that maturity. Like it's a work maturity. Like do I have to find you? You know what I mean? Like that's it. You know, that's it. You know, we've had a little bit of that happening, but it's like if I have to find you, then I don't need you because I don't need to find you. I mean, come on, man. You know what? Because here's the deal. When it's time for you to get paid, I'm sure I'll be able to find you then.
Yeah, you're gonna be right at the door.
You're gonna be right. Yeah, you're gonna be early. So why do I have to find you when I need you to do something to help you get paid? See, that's kind of the thing that I'm saying. Like, I'm not asking you to do stuff just, you know, because I'm some sort of dictator. I just do that, or some king. Yeah, do that. I'm paying you. So I need to do it. I gotta find you. You know, and so that's a maturity level. Yeah, you know what? People can tell you anything. There's things like when I had a record store, I didn't enjoy sweeping it and mopping it, and the back alley was all junky, and I don't know what was living in the back that we had there going. I didn't want to do that. And heck, I wasn't pulling much money out of it, but I had to get up there every day and wait. Why? Because it was mine, and I said, yo, I got to do it. No one looking for me. You got to be, who's looking for me? So it's happened that work maturity. And I do agree, you know, I mean, social media magnifies mentality, but there's the value of hard work and in terms of deferred stuff, because everything is immediate. That's if anything that's social media. I work 2 days with my check. You know what I'm saying? Like I get my check, then they look and see the deductions. Huh? What? You know, everything because everything's on a million. We fast. The world changes fast. Everything is fast. So that timing of like getting something after putting some effort in is not really part of American culture right now.
Correct.
It's all buy now, pay later.
Correct.
I mean, pretty much for everything. Anything you get, you can buy now, pay like anything. You can buy, and so I think that affects workforce to an extent that you get people that you could bring in and you could make them go. You know, they could grow, but they don't have the patience to do it, and they don't know how to do it based on time. Yo, look, you know how we roll. Look, all I'm asking you is do because we're unconventional. So do what we need to do by this date. I don't care if you do it 3 in the morning. I can care less. I'm not organized enough to be keeping up with people.
Right.
Right. You can't go missing. You know what I'm saying? You can't go missing because when it's time for you to get paid, and if, you know, knock on wood is my issue, if it came down to it and I'm like, oh, we only got this much? Well, if you went missing, your name ain't gonna be at the top of the list.
Correct.
So what's gonna happen is you gonna come to me and I'm gonna start stuttering. Well, you know, so and so it's incumbent for you to do what we agreed upon. If it's not working, we can talk about it. You know what I'm saying? Like that. So anyway, this isn't really, you know, internally, we don't really have this. It's just like talking to clients and They not getting, you know, they don't. I feel very fortunate. Actually, I tell everybody, I say, my team, I got people that know how to go to work. And that's all I can ask for. You know, just they know how to go to work. That some of them don't know how to stop going to work, but we'll talk about that. You know what I'm saying? You know, myself included, but sometimes I'm like, yo, easy. It's Christmas Eve. It's okay. It's okay.
What does that mean?
So anyway, man, you know, I'm just like, yo, gotta chill. But well, and another topic I know we probably hit too. I mean, health. You know, you gotta take care of yourself. So that's where I come from. But hey, I think we opened a can of worms, especially for coming here with no plan.
Yeah, we did. No, but that's the thing. We have too much, so it's never never a problem.
It's just insert that, and we had it. So when you're out there, you know, you with us.
Three mechanisms. And
you want to know about the three mechanisms? You know,
no, I ain't telling nobody. Reach out to us.
That's what I said. I don't need to tell you. You tell them now.
Oh, I'm
giving you the layup. I'm throwing the alley-oop, man. This therapy.
Three mechanisms. Three mechanisms.
But and now, in seriousness, if you are, look at Missy. We go to work. Yeah, this is. Yeah, we you put it at work too. That's our head of security.
Yeah. International too, right?
Yeah, that's the head of security right there. So you know what I'm saying? I mean, I think she's in a separate branch, AKA that's they like, you know, enforcement branch or something. I don't know what she do. But if you're a business owner, you know, and you know, give us a call. Let us know how you deal with that. How you deal with, you know, and to an extent is growth of your workforce, of your team. How do you what methods do you use to grow? So I think it's good. But if you know you have some questions, something, me and Kory, Mr. Biz Therapy himself, is available to coach you.
Come learn about that. Come learn about the SOS.
Oh,
it's the SOS. Yeah. Three mechanisms.
I don't know who they are. So you just, I can't put the cat out the bag. So
you know what they are. We talk about all the time, but I don't know if you link it when I'm going through our scenarios, right?
Yeah, well, you know, I'm live on stage. You know, I'm in a different mode. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, not like the mode I was on the phone yesterday. I was real. Anyway, so look, people, it's wonderful. It's Saturday. It's beautiful. At least here in NC, I think it's going to be 60, 70 degrees today. Typical. Then it probably 40 degrees on, you know, Tuesday.
Right.
So like that. So go outside, enjoy yourself, take care of yourself. Reach out to us, HeywardCPA.com. We got about 4 websites now. HeywardCPACloud.com. Talk about it. But if you need anything, give us a call, send us an email. I'm telling you, we're here to solicit questions, by the way. We're not just here to you know, yeah. We really do want to help the people.
Sure.
That's what it's all about. So reach out to us and hey, you know, for 2 weeks. We're gonna take 2 weeks worth of activity and then we'll be back. So peace. You know what I'm saying? Chuck up the deuce. See y'all later.